By a show of hands, who knows what a dominatrix is? Okay. For those of you who might be envisioning a scene from Pulp Fiction or 50 Shades of Grey right now, I'm going to invite you to put those ideas to the side for the next few minutes. And for those of you who don't know, a dominatrix is a professional dominant who's paid to create a safe space for people to explore their kinks and fetishes free of any judgment or shame. So, in my 12 years as a dominatrix, I discovered some surprising and unexpected parallels between the worlds of BDSM and dating. And so tonight, I'm gonna give you 4 tips that apply both in the dungeon and in the dating world. So, tip number 1, play. I would offer people a BDSM sampler platter if they were new to this world. So they could come in and they could try a little bit of bondage, a little bit of spanking, a little bit of nipple torture or puppy play, because how could you possibly know what you like unless you try it? Play is something that we as adults don't do nearly enough of, and it's how we learn about ourselves, each other, and the world. So, play. Tip number 2, know and honor your boundaries. I'd have clients come up to me and say, "Mistress, you can do anything you want to me." And I'd look at them and be like, "Really? Anything?" And they'd be like, "Yes, anything." And I'd be like, "All right, well, in that case, you pay me, and I'll sit and text my friends for a couple hours so I ignore you." And all of them were like, "Maybe not that, mistress, but anything else." And so I'd be like, "All right, well then, in that case, I'll put on my Doc Martens, and I'll stomp on your balls for a couple hours." And then most of them would be like, "Oh, not that either, mistress, please." Boundaries are how you define who you are, and they teach other people how to treat you. If you don't have boundaries, then other people decide what they are for you, and you might not like what they choose. So, know and honor your boundaries, and only allow people into your life who respect them as well. Tip number 3, be really honest about who you are and what you want. I once had a client come to me who was very nervous to share his interests because he'd been rejected by past partners and called a freak by an ex-girlfriend. I asked what it was, and he explained he was into wham, which stands for wet and messy play, also known as splashing. I never tried it before, so I told him to come on in. He shows up at my dungeon doorstep with 2 huge blue and white coolers. He comes in, he sets them down, he opens it up, and he starts taking out pies. Vanilla cream pies, chocolate cream pies, lemon cream pies, all these pies, and he lays them out really neatly, and then he goes and kneels in the middle of my dungeon, and I pick up a pie and walk up to him, and I wind up, and I smashed him in the face. And then I double pied him, and at that moment, I discovered I really love smashing pies into somebody's face. If you haven't tried it, you totally should. So the thing is, he was rejected by past partners for that, which is great, because why wouldn't you want to be with anyone who doesn't love, accept, and honor you exactly as you are? So be really honest about who you are, because the right people will be drawn closer, and the wrong ones will be repelled away. Finally, my last tip, don't assume. If you assumed that you already knew everything there was to know about professional domination and BDSM, then you wouldn't have space to hear the story about my dom friend in San Francisco, who once a month flies to New York City to see her client, takes a cab to his doorman building, takes an elevator all the way up to the penthouse suite, walks straight into his bedroom, sits down by his bed, reads him a bedtime story, tucks him in, kisses him on the forehead goodnight, and then she leaves. If you assumed that the world of BDSM and pro-domination is all about whips and leather and chains and nipple clamps, you'd be right. It can involve those things, and it can also involve a lot of love. I'm deeply grateful to the world of BDSM and pro-domination because I discovered deeper levels of intimacy and healing that I didn't realize were possible. I got to experience men respecting my no. I remembered how to play. I learned to know and honor my boundaries, to be really honest about who I am and what I want, and to not assume. And yes, these are all tips that apply in the dungeon and in dating, but really, they're reminders for me about how I want to live my life. And maybe they can be reminders for you too. Thank you.